On freezing cold days like this in Calgary, anywhere in Alberta, in fact, anywhere in Canada, I'm extremely grateful that we have modern amenities like fossil fuels to ensure that we can stay warm. Despite this, politicians in this city and across Canada continually insist that we are in a climate emergency and that we have to end fossil fuels. This is ridiculous. There is no climate emergency. So we're taking our No Climate Emergency truck to the streets of Calgary to get the message out. If you want to help us pay for our No Climate Emergency truck, you can do so at noclimateemergency.com, or as always, you can sign our petition to support the message that there is no climate emergency.
City Council will make a commitment to climate action because we can and we must.
We're in deep, deep doo-doo. The next stage after this is they're going to be pipelines blowing up. They're going to be pipelines blowing up.
You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words. How dare you?
By the end of this century, if emissions keep rising, the average temperature on Earth could go up another 4 to 8 degrees. What I'm saying is the planet's on fire. The planet's on fire.
Warning, censorship.
Adam Sos here for Rebel News, and we are outside of City Hall where Mayor Jyoti Gondek and Calgary City Council have declared a state of climate emergency in this city. We are out here today with, as you can see, our noclimateemergency.com truck. We are bringing attention to the fact that this climate hysteria is completely unwarranted. And we're going to be driving through the city talking to folks. This mayor has increased taxes specifically to address these climate issues, alleged climate issues, and is on a tirade. We need to let her know that the majority of the people don't stand with her on this issue. I don't know if you know, but we're apparently in a state of climate emergency. Do you think that we're in a climate emergency?
It feels like Canada. Like Canada, I don't really know. Like Canada's always been like this ever since I was a kid, you know? Yeah. But if it goes to talk about climate change, the world is changing. Like there's nothing we can really do about it unless we cut off the crude oil. Yeah. But we can't do that. That's like a lot of people's livelihood and stuff like that. But the world is changing.
So while we're out here with our No Climate Emergency truck, we ran into Jesse, a familiar face from Without Papers Pizza. First off, I guess, how are you doing?
I'm living my best apocalypse, sir.
Yeah. You're walking up and down the streets shouting the sky is falling, is that correct?
Well, apparently the sky is falling. I've been receiving that message continuously for the last 2 years.
Yeah. And now the latest state of emergency in the city, the climate emergency. What do you think of the perpetual, just one emergency to the next, permanent panic mode we're living in?
I think it's appalling. I think it's disgusting. And I think that it should stop immediately.
And what do you think is motivating this? Do you have any thoughts as to why it's just always the worst case scenario, grim prospects, the negative impact that's having on people in Calgary and indeed around much of the world?
I think perhaps fear sells a lot of newspapers.
If you guys are worried about climate change, this bad boy is not the truck for you. This is a Chevy with a 6.0 liter Vortec engine. This puts out more emissions than anything Volkswagen could ever imagine. I don't know if you know, but they have declared a climate emergency in Calgary. What do you think about this alarming emergency language being used when it comes to the climate?
It's bullshit.
I don't think we're in a climate emergency. I think that the Earth is amazing at rebuilding itself, and we don't need to do all this stuff. It's an excuse for other things.
Well, at least you're driving with clean propane.
Exactly, right?
City Council will make a commitment to climate
That's
action
awesome.
because we can and we must.
Jyoti!
We can't.
Do you want to do a quick interview with us?
No, thanks.
Okay, cool.
Only because I work for the city.
No worries.
Pipelines blown up.
Well, that's all the oil and gas jobs done, right?
Stolen
Yeah.
my dreams.
But fear not, while the engine runs on gas, these massive power-hogging screens require independent propane engines. These guys down here to work. So we're running the engine and we're running the propane. It's freezing cold, but thanks to modern fossil fuels, in this cabin, I'm comfortable and warm. You can be too if you just accept oil and gas.
Now I have to think about it. I think that's a little bit over the top, maybe.
Yeah. I think so, certainly. We seem to be jumping from one crisis to another.
Yes.
Most people are for helping the environment as much as they can, but declaring a climate it doesn't do anything, one, and two, it just creates panic.
That's correct. And I think at this point of time and the situation we are in, like you say, we don't need to add on to this. Like, let's calm down and deal with an everyday situation. And
It's no surprise that politicians like jumping from one crisis to another. The conspiracy theorists out there have been saying that as soon as the COVID emergencies are over, the new narrative will all be about climate hysteria. Well, the state of local emergency in Calgary has evaporated. They did not renew that, and lo and behold, we are now in a state of climate emergency. Well, despite that, the climate protest, the environmentalist protest that was going to take place today, we were going to swing by and pay them a visit with our truck, ask them what they thought. They canceled because of coronavirus, of all things, because of COVID-19. We're wondering, the city changed the state of emergency, so now it's the climate, not coronavirus. So questions remain as to why they canceled their protest if we are indeed in a climate emergency. We don't quite have the technology yet to transition fully to green energy. So where's the threshold between shutting off or bombing pipelines or whatever and a reasonable measure to improve the environment?
Well, I don't think shouldn't be turning off pipelines at this point. We're absolutely not ready to be moving all the way over to clean energy, but I think it's definitely something we need to focus on more of and put more money into clean energy and stop focusing so much on pipelines. I understand the oil industry is really horny for pipelines, but it's to work towards moving away from pipelines and to moving into clean energy. I think we need to stop focusing so much on pipelines, but it's definitely not turn them off at this point.
We've said it before and we'll say it again. We as Canadians are grateful for fossil fuels. We simply wouldn't be able to survive Canadian winters without them. We don't need politicians damning these industries as villains when in fact they provide comfort and wealth for the nation. If you've had enough and you've not yet had a chance, please sign our petition at noclimateemergency.com. Chip in to help us pay for this truck. And as always, thanks for tuning in. For Rebel News, I'm Adam Sos. There's no climate emergency in Calgary and you want to help us get this truck around the city more often, go to noclimateemergency.com and chip in to help us pay for this truck. You can also sign our petition at noclimateemergency.com if you haven't done so already.